Welcome back to C++ with Miyoshi. Today we're going to talk a little bit about new data types. And they're not really new, but they're different than our standard data types like int, float, char, bool, long, double, and unsigned whatever. Unsigned char, unsigned int, unsigned long. So they're a little bit different. Matter of fact, some of them will just expand upon those guys. And as you remember, ints only hold data without any integers, without any decimal places with them. There's no fractional parts. Floats will hold fractional parts, so will doubles. Booleans are really just true and false. They're really just integers that hold merely zeros and ones, or zero and anything else that's going to be your true. Longs are longer or bigger integers. Characters are simply integers that hold character representations of your data. And then an unsigned are unsigned char, unsigned int, unsigned long. Those are just, they have no sign value, so they're always positive. What we're going to do now, though, is we're going to have some new data types. And we have these things called enums and typedef, struct. And I put this in parentheses because pound define is not really a new data type. It's not really a data type at all, but it is something that you might see in other people's code. And that's one of the reasons why I have typedef and pound define over here. They are just things that you will see in other people's code, not necessarily something that I teach my students, but I just want to have you aware of them and so that you know that you've seen them before. So typedef is a way to declare an alias, if you will, an old type to a new type, or sometimes they'll call these guys primitive types. You can make a new data type, just define it however you want. But like, so for instance, we have typedef unsigned int uint. You'll see this in a lot of people's code. If you look on the internet, you'll see that in old C++ code, where the people don't want to write unsigned int every time you want to declare an integer, an unsigned integer. So instead, we make this alias uint, uint, for unsigned integer, and that's made with this typedef guy. Now, if once we've done this, we can now do a uint a, for instance, and now a is an unsigned integer. And we don't have to write out unsigned int. And remember that coders are often a little bit lazy, so we want to not have to write all those characters. So we just write 4 characters instead of all those other ones. Okay? It's a great thing to do. Remember, you have to have this typedef before the you use the uint, but other than that, it's fair game from then on. Okay? This pound define, pound if you look closely at code, it just tells you that this is a compiler directive. So pound define is a compiler directive, and notice there's no semicolon at the end. There's just one word and some number, or one word and some words, or one word and something else. But we have pound define size and then something following that. What this does is it's kind of like a constant, if you will. But what it's doing here is pound define size. All it's doing is taking my size. It's not really a data type. It's not really a constant either. But what it's going to do is every time the compiler sees size, S-I-Z-E, all caps in this case, it's going to replace that with a 10. And this can be used to great advantage if you have something that you know you want to, you might change every once in a while in your code, but only at the compiler level. So before you compile your code, you might change it and it never changes after that. Pound define size 10 will be great for that. And you can do that with words, you can do that with other things as well. So, well, words on this side. Okay? So, new data types. We're going to explore them a little bit more, and next time we'll talk about enums, and then we'll talk about structures after that, but some new data types. And know that, yes, these primitive data types are all available to you still, but now you can do a few more things with just these new guys, typedef, and then we'll talk about enum and structures coming up in next time on C++ with Miyoshi. So tune in next time for more C++ with Miyoshi.